That's right, it's Women's Wednesday here on Talk of Alabama. And as we all know, sometimes it only takes one thing to change our entire outlook on life. For some people, that one thing could be a plastic surgery. Well, this week we visited with a woman who says that one operation changed her life for the better. Nicole shows us how.
We're at the home of Vera, and like so many women out there, she chose plastic surgery. 2007, you went in for a facelift. Now, what about your face did you not like?
Well, basically, I didn't like my neck that I had inherited from my grandmother.
Why? What about it?
Well, it was saggy, and it just looked ugly to me, and it just didn't do much for me, I don't think. It made me look older, and I just wanted to have something done about it.
Is it one of those things that every time you looked in the mirror, was that the first thing you looked at?
Right.
Okay, so it kind of became a focal point.
Right, yes.
And then how did you decide on a doctor? I mean, how did you pick?
Well, actually, my sister did it. She was talking about getting a facelift, and she did some research online, and she had asked doctors, who would they choose if there was, their wife was going to have it done or their daughter. And they said Dr. Rousso. And so from there, we chose Dr. Rousso.
And you did it together, you and your sister.
Yeah, we did it together. We had the surgery the same day, and we stayed in the hotel. We had to have a sitter overnight, so, it was just an awesome experience.
Tell me how it's changed your life.
Oh, it's changed my life in a lot of ways, my self-esteem, and it just makes me feel better about myself.
Do you feel, when you look in the mirror, I assume you felt young before, but you didn't feel like you looked young. Now do you feel like your inner and outer beauty kind of go hand in hand?
Oh, yes, sure. Yes, I do.
You've got people out there that are like, they are critics of plastic surgery. But for a lot of people like you, it really comes down to self-esteem. Tell me your everyday in your work or your relationships. Does it make a difference when you present yourself that you're comfortable with this area of your body?
Oh, yes. I'm really comfortable with my neck now. It's not an embarrassment to me.
Now, did your sister love her surgery as well?
Oh, yes. Yes, she did.
And when you look in the mirror now, what do you see?
I see a much younger woman, and I see someone that feels good about themselves.
What about your loved ones, your friends and your family? Can they see that inner confidence now bloom like they didn't before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How so? Do they tell you?
Yes, they tell me all the time that, I look good, and, my face, really looks good, and I just look a lot younger than I am.
What would you say to women out there that are thinking about having a facelift, but they're either afraid or they're not sure, or they're just uncertain in general? What piece of advice would you give to other women out there?
Well, there's nothing to be afraid of. The recovery is not that bad at all. You just have to stay indoors for a while, but the recovery is not bad at all. I would recommend it.
Yeah. You'd recommend it to anybody?
Oh, sure.
What about your own daughter? If she said, I want to have a facelift, would you say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And last question for you. Did you ever think it would make such a big difference in your life?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have thought it would have made that much difference in my life.
Okay.
But I'm really happy with it.
And you'd do it again in a heartbeat?
Absolutely.
And now we are joined by the man who made it all happen, Dr. Daniel Rousso. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Nicole. We're very glad to be here again.
Well, it's Women's Wednesday. Looking at Vera's story, she had amazing success and says she would do it again in a heartbeat. Do you find that a lot with your facelifts?
Well, we're very fortunate in that so many patients really do find this to be a really big, changing experience for them, for the better. And it depends on, of course, the patient. Sometimes it's not a real dramatic difference in the way they look. It's sort of a maintenance approach where you really see little changes along the way to keep them looking young throughout their lifetime. And there's others that have a pretty big transformation, and that makes a much more dramatic change in their appearance, and therefore a bigger change in their lives.
What kind of things do they say to you after things have gone well and they're very happy with the way they look and the way they feel? What kind of comments do you hear? What do they tell you?
Well, most patients just say that they feel better about themselves and that they feel more like they they feel inside. They look more like they feel inside. A lot of people say they feel young at heart, but when they look in the mirror, they don't see what they feel like inside. And this just brings them back to where they feel like inside oftentimes.
Well, you hear a lot of women on these makeover shows and such say, I always felt like my husband loved me, I always felt sexy, but now I feel like I could conquer the world. I mean, with some women, it does make a huge, dramatic difference in their life.
It does. I mean, it really does. In some cases, make a dramatic change. Most patients, they just continue their lives, but they feel much better about themselves. They're much more self-assured. They're more confident in what they do, whether it's in their relationships with other people or whether it's their profession, their work. It just gives them that confidence that they want to continue doing what they enjoy doing.
If you have one piece of advice that you would leave with our viewers about whether or not this kind of procedure would be right for them, what should they know or what should they be aware of before they consider having something like this done?
Well, I think the best thing is that you need to make sure that you have realistic expectations. I think that's probably the best advice that I have for patients, is that they understand what this is going to achieve for them, what it can achieve for them. If they're going about this in order to perhaps get married, if they're trying to get married and that's what they want to do, or if they want to perhaps get a new job that they're looking for, while that may help them, I don't think that should be their primary goal. Their primary goal should be to make them feel better about themselves, to make them make them feel and look the way they feel inside about themselves, as opposed to necessarily obtaining some particular goal.
And if people want to get in contact with you, we want to remind our viewers the number is right there at the bottom of your screen. That's an email and a phone number. That way, if you've got questions for Dr. Rousso, or if you want to email him, talk to him, make an appointment for anything, he's there. You guys are always open, it seems.
Well, maybe not always, but we're definitely always accessible on the internet site. But our office, we are there almost all day, Monday through Friday. That's for sure.
Thank you, sir, so much for taking a few minutes for us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you in again.
Glad to be here.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we've got more of the program coming up in just a second. Keep it right there.